Good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming along today. Maybe it's morning, maybe it's afternoon or evening for you all. My name is Darren Yer, and I'm a watercolor artist from Melbourne, Australia. And I run these sessions pretty much once or twice a month. And this is a scene that I actually took a photograph of a few years back when I was in Florence. As you can see, so much going on. And for some of you might look at it and just think, this is pretty intimidating. There's a lot of details. How am I going to actually get all this in? Well, simple answer to that is that we don't have to get all of it in. We only just need to get in the basics and really whatever you want to imply in the scene. So I often find that having a more detailed photograph gives you opportunities to pick and choose which parts you want to include and exclude, especially with figures and small details. So the windows, for example, look so complicated, lots of things going on in there, but, we can simplify them down. So let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I hope, is the microphone and the video looking all right for you? Please let me know, because I'm just about to get started. And I'm just looking in the chats at the moment. We've got Sonal here. We've also got Pamela, Meredith. Good to see you, Pamela. Pamela and Margaret, Maggie Mac, a couple of my students and long-time viewers. So thanks, guys, for coming along. Got Linda Dayton. Good to see you again, Linda. Kim Garth. And we've got Charles Dayton as well here. Thank you for coming along, guys. And yeah, just let me know. Just having a look at the chats. Got a lot of chats and things coming up on all the different screens. So I'm just, you might see my head sort of moving left to right. Got a couple of screens up. So just making sure I'm reading all the comments, or as many as I can anyway. Yep. Thanks, Nerida. I can see your comment, and Gail as well. Quite a few people in the chats. Drop a message in the chats if you can hear me. And also just, let me know whereabouts you're from. And what you'd like to get out of today's session, because today really I'm just going to show you my entire process on how to paint this. I've got a light here. I just lowered the light down a little bit. In the drawing, I find that it helps so that you can see the pencil work. It's a little bit tricky when the light's too bright, that kind of thing. So let me know in the chats, maybe just one thing you'd like to get out of today's session. Just one thing, whether it's learning the process of painting a landscape, or urban landscape like this, understanding colors. And during the session, I'll see if I can address some of that stuff. And, also during the session, if you have any questions, just let me know. Write your question down in the chats and I will do my best to get back to you. So, while I'm live, I try to just look and make sure that you guys are following along okay. Okay, one of the questions Richard Harvey, and I think a couple other people asked about this before, is material. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. Okay, materials are really important, and often beginners, as you're just starting out and you're testing the waters, you're not sure whether you should invest in that, that much money into materials. But I think when you start off, it's always good, if possible, to get some good quality bits and pieces. And obviously, it doesn't have to cost that much as well. And I say that because a lot of people think they need to get 20 different colors, 20 different brushes and, fancy paper and stuff like that. I think the paper, one of the most important. So this is 100% cotton watercolor paper. It's in cold press or medium texture. So it's it's got a kind of rough surface, and you can see here there's a bit of texture to the paper. Let me bring it a bit closer, but allows the water just to blend and create a bit more softness across the scene. If you've got completely hot press paper, which is just paper that does not have a tooth or any texture to it, I think it's difficult to paint landscapes on that. So cotton paper, 100% cotton paper is really preferred and allows you the time as well. It takes a longer time for the paper to dry if you're using cotton paper, and there's a lot of effects that just work better on it. Things like layering as well, putting on a second layer. It does not lift off that first layer, whereas if you are using some kind of cellulose paper or other type of paper, you're going to find that at times if you put on that second wash, all your shadows, you've got to be very careful, you've got to be very quick, otherwise you will lift off that first wash. So That's important. So on the palette, I'm just going to show you what I've got. These are a whole bunch of colors, and you don't need them all. How many are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 17 colors. So I don't use all these colors for my paintings, but I'm going to go through some of them, and I'm going to tell you why I've got all these. So I've got here on the, let me just put this down, make sure I can paint underneath. These are some of my yellows and my warmer colors. So the way I separate my palette is that I have all the warmer colors, so anything towards the yellow and orange, red side of the color spectrum on the right-hand side. And then everything to the left-hand side here, it starts getting a little bit more cooler. So I've got some of these blues. So I've got a cerulean blue. These are a couple of bonus colors you don't need. This is turquoise and lavender, which is like a lilac color, ultramarine blue, couple of browns here. And the rest of these are just, a bit of green and purples, purple and a bit of neutral tint, which is basically just gray. And I have neutral tint because it just saves me time from mixing up my own grays. But if you have a red, yellow, and a blue, a dark blue, mix them together and you're going to get this same color anyway. For me, it's just easier to squeeze out some of that, but it's not necessary. And if you're just following along today, all you really will need is just a bit of blue. So maybe a couple of blues, actually, a bit of cerulean blue for the sky. If you don't need that, you can just have like a ultramarine blue, a dark blue that you can water down for the sky, a dark blue so we can mix up some cooler shadows afterwards. We've got also a bit of yellow ochre, and a little bit of red as well. So we can actually paint almost everything in here. And some of the buildings, you can see a bit of a brownish tinge, burnt sienna tinge like that. So an earthen color can help as well. But really, for the most part, that's all that you need. Okay, there's not too many colors really in this scene. So though I've got so much on here, I find that I only use a few of those colors, and trying to practice a bit of minimalism with your paintings, especially when you're first starting out, helps a lot because you've got so many variables to think about: what brushes, what paper, what time you do this and that. So when you start adding in too many colors, that's when you run into issues and a bit of confusion. Here are some brushes that I'm going to be using today. I'm going to try to simplify today's session and just use a few basic brushes, because that's really all that you need. So over here, just let me have a quick look. So over here, we have ourselves a mop brush set. So small mop brush, medium and larger mop brush. And mop brushes, as you can see, they're shaped so that they hold a lot of water. They have this sort of belly on the side there. Really good for getting in large washes. I've got a couple of smaller detailing brushes here. So this one here, these are just synthetic brushes, and they're smaller, have sharper tips, and that's for getting in the details of the buildings, the figures, things like that. Okay, really you're just going to need these sort of things. I mean, even if you've just got a couple of mop brushes, one large, one small mop brush, a couple of smaller detailing brushes like this, synthetic ones, that's all you're going to need to get by with today. So don't think you need you're going to need a whole repertoire of materials. So fantastic. I'm just having a look through the chats, and let me know how I'm going. I think Margaret's saying the audio is breaking up a little bit. Hopefully it's going okay. I'm just monitoring the stream and it seems all right. I've actually done a little sketch beforehand, and Sonal's saying, just in her comment, hoping to get more comfortable with painting buildings. Awesome. Definitely have lots of practice with that today. And Kim says, getting depth without ruining your paper. Yeah, and getting depth's important, and it starts with the drawing. Watercolor drawing for your watercolors is, I think it's different than just drawing in general, because we're drawing to get a plan in and to get some indication of shadows and compositional elements. So we don't want to go too detailed, but we want to imply nearness of objects that are further away, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Generally speaking, objects that are closer, people that are closer are going to appear larger. And if you look at that, right in the center of the reference picture, there is some kind of tower in the middle, and it's tiny, So further back, things are just going to appear smaller, and that's how you create depth, and also by playing around with your values, okay, light and dark values. Okay, Kate Parbury's here. Good to see you, Kate. And Gail's asking, where do I get the line art? So Gail, if you go into the event page and then click on the discussions section, it's a discussions tab, you'll be able to find both the reference photo and the tracing template. it's just a simplified template that I pull out. So guys, if there's no other questions, I'm just going to go through and show you a little drawing. I did this in about 5 minutes before the session today. Okay, it's something that I do every now and then, and it helps, especially before you get started, just to plan out the elements and things that you think are most important. And it's a pretty simple drawing. There's nothing special about it, but what I was planning out was that large shadow shape, okay, running across. You can see the light's coming from the left. Look at the ground. We've got all this darkness on the ground, we've got some darkness on the buildings, but the shadow pattern is running from the left to right, okay? And this sort of helps me to plan before I even get started. I started putting in some of these figures and people here as well. I thought maybe some larger ones in the front as well. Going back to your comment, Kim, about getting depth, having some figures and objects closer to the front of the scene makes it look a bit more realistic, okay, with the perspective. And got Annette here. How you going, Annette? I think that's pretty much all the little comments here today. Not today, but this that I've just read up here. But if you have any questions during the session, let me know. Okay, but yeah, little drawing like that took me about 5 minutes, and I have this up on the side here. I just put it on the side just to remind myself not to overthink things. Okay, so let's get cracking with the drawing. Zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. Just refocus that camera, and yeah, I'll just lower the brightness a bit so that you can see. Got a bit of natural light coming through. That's going to help. So let's get started with the drawing now. I'm going to begin actually by putting in the horizon line, basically the line where the bottom of the buildings hits the ground. Okay. And I will actually put it in. It's about, I wouldn't say it's a quarter of the way up the page. It's actually less than a quarter of the way up the page, but I'm thinking I might just put it in roughly. Let me have a look. Yeah, maybe roughly a quarter, because I just want a little bit more of the foreground in there. Okay. Notice what I'm doing with my fingers here. I'm marking out sort of like estimating the center of the page and then dividing that into half like that. And that's sort of the point in which I will start drawing this line. Okay, running across like that. Directly like that. And this can change later, of course. We don't have to keep it there, but trying to keep it, roughly in the right position is going to help. Okay. Some people are saying they can't find the reference photo. If you pop onto YouTube, check in the video description. There's actually a YouTube link as well, and I've got that in the description details there. But it should be in there. Yeah, let me see if I can actually get it out for you. Get the reference photo and find it, and that way I can just link it straight in the comments. Just give me one moment, everybody. I hope you're able to find the reference. This is always something that's a bit tricky to upload on here. I would just like to have it larger, but at the end of the day, it kind of just covers the entire screen, and yeah, it gets in the way of you guys seeing everything. So yeah, here it is. I'll just paste that, okay, into Facebook, and yeah, you should be able to see that there. That's the discussions, Alethea. Okay, righto. So let's go ahead and get started. And yeah, so I was drawing this line in right about here. Now, I probably think the easiest thing to do at this stage is I want to separate the photo into half. Around the halfway point is where these buildings sort of disconnect. I mean, you've got 2 buildings here on the right. Okay, but before that, actually, and there's all these little smaller buildings in the middle, but we want to just separate them. The two buildings to the left and the two buildings to the right, and then in the center, that's roughly the point in which they're separated out. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to go in, actually come in with this building to the left there. Okay, but I've got the middle section marked, and I'm going to bring this building down a bit. This is like a, I don't know, just a building to the left, I suppose. There is another one coming in like this. And note where the building comes in the corner of the page as well. Okay, so it comes in just almost at the top of the sky. I'm going to try to draw a bit, perhaps a bit darker for you all. It's just a bit tricky to get the camera to focus on the darks. But yeah, that's a bit of the roof. Here's a bit of that part there. Okay, I want to leave room for that center building. Okay, something like this. Bring that down, and we're just estimating at the moment. Okay, down the center we've got this other building, quite sort of in the darkness, like this, and then we've got this larger building here. I'm just gonna, if we can simplify this down, side of that larger building like this. Okay, this there, and we've got the top of the roof here. Okay, coming down. I mean, that's pretty much about it, like this. Okay, good. I'm thinking as well, I might just raise that up a touch, like the horizon line, just up a little bit more. Okay, and then get that eraser out a little bit. Okay, the reason why I just want to make that, just raise that horizon line or the bottom of the buildings, that area, just a little bit more, so that I can get some, I want to get some shadows here on the ground that will cover up part of the foreground, and hopefully just join the shadow onto the right hand side of the scene a little bit better. Let's have a look. I might just lower the brightness on my camera a bit. You can alter this a bit. Hopefully that's better. Okay, and think of these buildings as just boxes. You know, we're just drawing little boxes at the end of the day. Okay, that's that one there. And what else do we have? We've got all these buildings running through the center. Okay, but I'll just get this one in first. It's actually quite a large scene. So many things in here. Okay, bit of some buildings here on the right, just coming down into this center part of the scene. We've got these, what you call it, there's a rooftop here or something. And of course we've got this, looks like a clock tower or something just running off in the distance. You can barely see it, but it's a small tower. And yeah, just because it comes up to a point like that there. And there we go, just make that look a bit more three-dimensional like that. There we go. Okay, another rooftop or something like this here, and another rooftop here. Let's just lower this down a bit like that. Good. Another building in the back like that somewhere, a bit of 3D sort of, just a box on its side. Okay, something like that. Okay, but then we're just going to work on these two buildings, and we've marked out the center of the page, and this makes it so much easier than to be like, okay, and we can dedicate this remaining part and not worry about all this other stuff that that we may not have gotten it all in and stuff like that. So yeah, let's just put in the rooftop for this one. There's so much detail in here, and again, it's just picking and choosing what to use. Okay, the side of the building, let's get in the top of the building. It's roughly here. So where that tower finishes off, about there. In fact, this building is a little bit taller, but I can extend it out because there's actually a rooftop on there. So let's get this out. It finishes about the top of that one, of this tower. The rooftop starts there anyway. Okay, let's get in. It's kind of just a rectangular shape. And, we've got this one here on the right-hand side as well. It's coming down. It's actually quite a wide building, this one. Come down here. Then this one just come down like that. It's just a box, couple of boxes. I mean, it looks like there's a lot going on in there. But really, you don't have to put much in there. Okay. Down. Okay, let's just draw this in box shape like that. Okay, good. And it's a really amazing city. I think one of the people that commented on my post the other day was saying he was actually born in Florence, and saying how amazing it is. I mean, to be able to wake up and just have this scene ready for you to start painting. And it's funny because there's a lot of artists actually around this area that sell their work on the street. You can see them, not really on the left, but yeah, actually you can. If you zoom into the reference photo to the left, you can see there's a few tiny little paintings there that people will sell on the side of the road. That just local artists, and you know, nice little scenes. There we go, just getting a bit of this. Now, how are you doing? Let me know in the chats if you guys are going okay. All right, we've got, how many do we have on today? We've got about 70, maybe about 70 people watching, which is great. Nice amount of people. And it always helps to paint together and keep each other motivated. And, definitely keeps me motivated. Okay, side of that building there. Yeah. And the thing with drawing in watercolors, drawing and planning a painting, is that you're trying to get in all the details. It's not like I mentioned before, just a pencil drawing where we really have to make sure that all the details are in. We just want to have enough in there so that when we start our painting, that there is enough of a plan so that we're not flying blind, wondering what color goes where, what's dark, what's not. Okay, top of this roof is kind of like this triangular shape thing there. Again, I'm referring to things as shapes rather than looking at it as a building or something like that. In my mind, it is just a shape. It's just a shape. And if I think of it as a shape, suddenly it just becomes easier to draw. Okay, some kind of separation in that building there. Another separation here. Underneath you see all this stuff. Like there's an umbrella here as well. Look at that. There's some kind of, just simplify this down, some kind of umbrella there. Kind of overlap with each other like that. These umbrellas. Okay, just a little indication of that. These buildings and the windows as well, we can just get in a few of these perspective lines like that. Yeah. And like I said before, I'm just kind of taking bits and pieces of the reference and I'm simplifying it down. Okay, like these little archways here, they look nice. I thought I'll just imply some of those archways like that. Okay, the windows, just a few of these little vertical lines, as you can see, just indicating some of the windows like that. Here, just put some up on the left-hand side. That's all you need. We can figure the rest out later on. This whole area to the left, I'm thinking to just make it a bit more simple and more kind of in the darkness. Okay, although there's a lot of detail in here, okay, I think we can really get bogged down and get confused if we're not careful. There's even, look at that, there's even a bicycle here, okay? There's even I can't believe it, didn't see that before. And, there's people sitting down, there's people walking around here in the darkness, people just sitting as well on this bench, okay? I think it's a bench or some chairs or whatever, okay? Just an indication of some people sitting down here on this bench, okay, like that. And we start drawing the people with the heads first, then the body, then the legs, okay, like that. Okay, they're just sitting down on the bench, and they get smaller as you move into the background, okay? Come back to that question again about, the figures, making things, creating a bit of depth in your scene by making sure that objects, people in the background, they actually get smaller. Okay, we can even put in someone here that's just potentially walking into the scene. Okay, just discovered the scene or whatever, walking in. Oops. But remember, all this area is going to be pretty dark. Anyhow, that's a person there. Bit of perspective going on. I'm going to draw a little dot here in the center of the page, and I'm just going to extend out a few lines that will go towards that dot. This. And what this will do is, I think, just give it a bit more perspective and just remind me later what to do. So there we go. Look at these buildings here in the background. I mean, there's actually a whole bunch of buildings here, and there's little windows there as well. Excuse me. Okay, couple of these lines again, and look, just these windows that we can pencil in. Let's get this building here to the left in a bit darker. Okay, I'm gonna just darken it, especially for your benefit. I don't normally draw this dark in my paintings, but one of the things to keep in mind is people often get worried to draw too dark, and I get that, but a lot of the time when you actually go in with the watercolors, the graphite will just dissolve away, and you're not able to see. You're not really able to see the pencil marks anyway. So, I just do what I need to do, and I've never really noticed it get in the way. So, some of these things on top of the buildings, okay. I'm going a bit darker with the pencil now just to show you the, a little bit of the line work and things on the buildings. And like I said before, of course, some of the details are important to help guide you later in your painting, but for the most part, we don't need to detail too much. Okay, there's 4 rows. There's all these, look at all these windows. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then at the base, I don't know, there's just some umbrella-like shapes and something dark here, and it's probably a bit of darkness at the bottom of this building as well. Let me just get some of this in, okay. And of course, the base of the building's just gonna reinforce that a touch like this. Okay, good. Just reinforcing that line, and see how I've got a bit more foreground now. Okay, that's kind of what I wanted. Now let's go and put in. There's a shadow. There's large shadow shape. We know that it comes all the way across this building. A bit of darkness on that building, and then you're also going to get some darkness here. I'm just going to shade a little bit, and not only that, there is a bit of darkness running across these back sections of the buildings here, like that. Let me have a look here. Maybe I'll just get in a pretend building like there as well. Okay, there, there's a bit of a building shadow on that. We don't have to really sort that out too much, but just a reminder for later. You've got, look at this. It's just 3, 6, 9 windows, doors, or whatever. Okay, and here we've got 1, 2, 3, and that's pretty much it. The rest of it, I think we can just get it in as we go with the brush. Okay, you get that side of that building in a bit better, so it looks more 3-dimensional. Okay, some figures. Let's put in some figures. Before we do, this shadow, we've got to sort out this general shape of this shadow. Okay, there. Okay, and I did say I wanted to move it a bit to the right, this shadow, something like that. Running to the right hand side there. So this is kind of the line work of the shadow. Okay, all this stuff's going to be pretty dark. Okay, and then we're going to have a slither of light running over here, and we'll have a figure. I'm going to put a figure right here, walking. That same guy that's in the white shirt, okay, blue jeans, walking in the center of the scene. Okay, look at that. And this will create also a shadow running to the right hand side like this with this figure. Okay. There we've got there's another lady here, looks like, just walking around in the back like that. simplify them down, and you know, put the head in first, then get the body. Okay, an upside down sort of triangle for the body, or rectangular sort of body. Okay, and the legs kind of, you know, one of my students just suggested they look like carrots, and that's absolutely perfect description of how you draw in legs, or just a couple of lines there to give you an indication. Okay, good. How are we all going? How are we all going, everyone? Chats are a little bit quiet. I always get a bit nervous when that happens. As okay, there we go. From Lethia says, I often prefer my original drawing to the painting, so don't forget to take a picture of it. Yeah, that's a good point. And you know, at times if you repeat the painting as well, you can just trace the drawing, and that saves you so much time. As you can see, this has taken quite a bit of time to even get the drawing in. How many minutes has it been already? Probably 30 minutes or so. Probably about 30 minutes or so. And yeah, so it's an important part of the scene, and I'm spending a little bit more time on it at the moment so that I can explain it to you, to you guys. Okay, here's a leg. There's a person here. Look, just sort of walking into the scene. Okay, there, and you know, I think she's got some kind of bag here. Just drawing the bag there. You know, it also helps, I think, to get people that are walking in different directions. So notice I've kind of slanted this guy's head there to the left. Okay, this will then allow me to kind of put in the body running to the right a bit more, and leg here to the front and the leg here to the back, just making it look like this person is walking to the left of the scene, and we can just get in a bit of shadow underneath. Remember to just indicate some of these shadows and things. You know, I can also think to myself, well, how about a larger figure? Why don't we get in a larger figure here, closer to the scene? Okay, a little bit closer, kind of around the same area as this one, depth or whatever. Here, here's a figure walking in, and a bit of the shadow running towards the right. Okay, maybe an arm or something here. Let's have some more in, maybe another one here. Let's put in another figure, maybe just walking a bit more of an angle going into the scene, like that. There we are, another figure, and I can get in some kind of shadow running towards the right hand side, like that. Okay, connect the shadow onto the body like that. Maybe an arm like this or something. And you know, let's put in a few more figures. I want this to look like it's a busy sort of day, and maybe these could be a group of friends and they're just walking together off in the distance here. Okay, I'm not really lifting my pencil off the page as well, as you notice. I'm just really scribbling some of these people in. They get smaller in the back as well. See, look at that, just tiny ones, tiny little figures at the back. Okay, and that's how you imply some depth as well, just making sure that as you move further into the distance, the people just get smaller and more difficult to make out. Okay, like that. I don't know if I'll get them all in later, but it's just a put them in there just in case. Yeah, have someone walking here to the right, like as well. Oops, this one's not the best looking figure, but we are pretty much done. We're pretty much done with the drawing. Okay, how are we all doing? Oh, Richard's saying there's no sound. How you guys doing? Can you hear me okay? I thought I'd muted it, but sound is coming across okay from my side. Can you hear me okay? Let me know in the chats if you can hear. I mean, from my side, I can see it going okay. You might have to click the button, the sound button on the bottom right hand side of the screen. Okay, cool. I think Richard might have muted himself, muted the audio a little bit Let me just reply to him. Hang on. Ooh. Hang on. Richard. Okay. Can't really reply. It's not freezing up me a little bit. Okay. Look, I'm just going to continue. Now, the first wash is such an important stage of this painting because it's where we put in the light of the painting. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at the scene, look at the reference photo that we have in front of us. Where's the light? Well, everything here on the ground, this to the right-hand side here, that's light. All this lighter sections on the building, that's the light. And the sky as well. We want to get that in with really, really, really sort of a light wash of color, okay? And the first thing I will do is, let's have a look. I think we will do the buildings first. Yeah, I think we'll do the buildings first. Because I don't want you, one thing I find sometimes is you accidentally mix up some green if you start with the blue first. I'm fine with it, but I think we can start with the buildings first and then get the sky in later. It will look the same for you guys, but normally I will start with the sky. Okay, let's have a look at the buildings. Now, what color are the buildings? We're going to ask ourselves two questions. What color are they and how light are the buildings? Well, they're pretty light. So what I want to do is I want to mix in a bit of yellow ochre, and yellow ochre is a color that I use very often. It's just a subdued, kind of duller sort of yellow. Okay, I've also got some other color here. It's just called buff titanium. It's like a white color. Okay, but if you just got the yellow, that's fine. Just use a bit of that yellow, dulled down. If you don't have a dulled down sort of yellow, you can mix up a brighter yellow with some gray and just dull it down yourself. Okay, I'm just going to test that. Now, it says 90% water and 10% paint. You're using really just really, really light paint for this. And I'm testing it, just having a look. How does that appear? Not bad. Okay, so I'm just going to go down. Okay, and we're just going to get this building in. The left-hand side of the building here, you notice is actually... it's actually a little bit lighter there on the left-hand side here. So I'm just going to go put in a bit of that. Okay, a tiny bit of yellow as well, just to a brighter yellow to give it a bit more, saturation. I'm going to cut around these umbrellas. Just leave some of them white, whatever, like that. You don't have to color everything in. Okay, look, this is, I think some of these little bits that you leave out help to create some contrast in the scene. This is I think it's one of the easiest parts where you're just putting in color and not much else, okay? Here's some, I don't know, this is a bit of grayish color I'm putting in for that building in there, but it's very light. It's really, like I said before, you're using just a lot of warm colors, lots of yellows. I've also got some, like I mentioned before, a bit of burnt sienna, which is like a nice sort of reddish brown color. That's probably too much. It's probably too saturated. So I'm going to mix in a bit of brown, like a bit of darker brown in there as well. But again, just water this down so that it becomes very light. Okay, very important to remember. Don't go too dark here. Keep it light, and it's almost as light as you can get it, because you're going to look at it and you're going to think what's going on? It doesn't look right. It looks boring. It looks really bland. That's what you want at the moment. You want it to look just very light and weak, because we haven't got in any of the shadows yet, and so mentally, in our minds, it doesn't look quite right. Okay, but you've got to just ignore that little voice in your head, carry on, and have faith that you know what you're doing. Here's this little tower. I like this little tower. It's nice, and just a nice little focal point, the center. I'm using a bit more brown here for it. Okay, look at that. And the great thing about these watercolor mop brushes is that you have a nice little point on the top that allows you to get in small details. Okay, look at that. And so by using all these different warm colors, as you can see, the building's looking a bit more interesting, aren't they? It's not just one color that I'm using for all of them. I'm combining different colors together, all basically just yellow, a bit of brown, a tiny bit of white. Okay, if you've just got some gray, mix it in with your yellow and dilute that down a bit, and then just use that. At least you'll have some variation in color with these buildings. Okay, but at the end of the day, the color isn't so important as long as you've got some warmth, a bit of warmth in the background. 100% fine. Okay, the tones, darker tones and stuff later are going to be more important. Okay, here are just, look, these buildings on the left. Look, I'm just going to pick up some yellow, quickly just get that in here. Okay, and of course, yes, these buildings are actually a bit darker, but don't worry about that. We will get that in later. You can even just, look, if you want to pick up a bit of darker paint, just put some of that in now at the moment. That's fine as well, but, I think, for me anyway, I want to get those shadows in more efficiently in one go afterwards. Look at this. This kind of, it's interesting, isn't it? There's like a lighter part of the rooftop up here. Oh, we'll get that in afterwards. Figure that out. There, good. Bring that down. I also like to carry a little spray bottle at times to help keep part of it wet, part of the painting wet. So I'll just spray a bit of it down at the base. Okay. What I'm going to do is just quickly do the sky, guys. Yeah, we can do the sky. So, large mop brush, and we're going to pick up some cerulean blue. Okay, if you don't have a cerulean blue, get yourself any blue that you've got and dilute it down, making sure you've got a lot of water in there. All the washes in here are pretty much 90% water, very, very little paint in there. Okay, and I can't stress this enough that it has to look, purposely making it look a bit weak in color. Okay, this is a bit of that cerulean, nice little cerulean blue. And the sky in this scene it's a really flat sort of cerulean, isn't it? At these moments, I always think to myself, I want to add in some, I just want to add in some clouds in there. Should I do it? Yeah, should I do it? Let's see. Let's just do this bit first. Look at that, just cutting around the buildings, and some of it, don't panic, because some of it will blend into the sky a touch. No problem. Okay, just continue on. I'm actually going to use a smaller brush down this part. It's getting a bit difficult to control, especially down this tower here as well. Okay, and look, some of it will blend into the building. All right, don't worry. Like that. Okay. There, just bring some of it down here. Very watery mix. Lots of water in here. Like I said before, it's just 90% water, because this is just the light in the sky. This needs to be really light. I think I'm going to put in some clouds, just a quick little something. Okay. I'm just dropping in a bit of this purpley grey color that I've got in the palette. Okay. Oops, like that. Cloud up the top there. You don't have to do this. I don't know why, but I just have this compulsion at times when I see too much uniformity in an area to upset it a bit and see what happens. Okay, and because the paper is still wet, this will blend in a touch. Okay, I don't know. I think for me anyway, I just want to put in there. We'll make it look a bit more interesting from my part of my side anyway. But for you, you might not want to do this, so don't. It's really up to you. If you're doing clouds, make sure you make the clouds in the right in the back just smaller. Or on the top of the scene, you're making the clouds a bit larger. Okay. Look how soft these are. You can barely notice it. Okay, you've still got this beautiful blue sky just running through anyhow. So getting too fiddly there. Just relax, Darren. That's enough. Okay. So let's carry on this wash further down the page, and the ground is kind of this grayish color, isn't it? I'm just going to bring a bit of this gray down. I'm mixing up a bit of gray, bringing this further down the page like this. Really, I think I'll put in a bit more yellow in there. It's, I don't know, it looks a bit boring. It's a bit of, yeah, kind of like a warmer gray color. Okay, warmer gray, yellowy color down here. But I'm trying to also make it less saturated, less colorful than the buildings, so that the viewer is drawn towards some of these buildings. Okay, see how I've saved some of that saturated color for that building there and this building here. Okay, that then becomes a focus. You know, your eyes are drawn to areas of high contrast and high saturation of color. It's a technique, it's a compositional technique that you can use if you want to, if you just want to draw attention to parts of your scene. Okay, so here we go, these umbrellas, I mean, they're still in here. Let's just, I think I'll just go over the top of them like that, because we're going to get in another layer anyway afterwards. On top of these figures, yeah, let's just go over the top of them. Okay, good. Simplify that down. No, didn't mean to do that, but doesn't matter. Bit of yellow. Okay, good. So we are pretty much, I think we're pretty much done with that first wash. I'm just seeing if I can tighten up a few little bits and pieces, but really, I'm pretty happy with that first wash. So we're going to give this a little dry now. I'm going to use a hairdryer, and I'll put the microphone on mute, and let me know if you have any questions. Type them in the chats. And I'll get back to you in a moment. Alrighty, excellent. So it's all dried off now, and I've just increased the brightness of my light so you can see. And you might think to yourself, this does not look like anything yet. I mean, there's no shadows, that kind of thing. But just bear with me. We're going to put in these shadow shapes. We're going to get in this on the ground, the figures, slowly, bit by bit. We're going to put in the rest of it. I mean, watercolors, you've got to be patient. You have to layer the different shapes in. As long as you got this first wash in nice and light, that's what you want. You want it to look a bit weak and just thinking to yourself, it's just not done yet. If you've got too many darks in that first wash, I find that's tricky to work out later. Welcome, Shanolan. I can see you in the chats. Thanks for coming along. And guys, I think I will continue on. And get in the shadows. So mop brush and a little flat brush, like that little synthetic flat brush I'm going to be using. Okay, If you've got a little synthetic round brush, that's good. That will do you fine as well. Or you can really just get by with a little mop brush. Okay. What I'm trying to do here, what I'm trying to plan is the shadows. And this was where our little sketch that I did before comes in handy. Okay. Here I can really see, plan and see, okay, where the shadows are, this large shape. We're going to do this large shadow shape in one go. Okay, when I say in one go, I'm going to pretty much just work from, I don't know, not left to right, but maybe somewhere here and join up all these shadows together. That's the trick. And you do the figures and the shadows of the figures as well at the same time, all at once. Very efficient. That's a bonus, but the main reason why we're doing this is so that it looks more cohesive. Okay, and the shadows join on nicely. So let's mix up a bit of shadow color. I've got some neutral tint. If you have some darker color, just a bit of dark brown and a bit of ultramarine blue, that's completely fine as well. I've got, look, some ultramarine blue, mixing that in with some of this stuff, which is neutral tint. You can mix up your three primaries, blue, red, and yellow. Doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. But for me, I'm trying to just mix up a slightly cooler mix of gray. Okay, and I've got some brown here, and the brown is funny because it actually makes the gray look a bit more warmer. Okay, and a little bit more warmer. Trying to let you see my palette. Okay, and the mixture of paint here is about 50% paint, 50% water, because it's a lot of darker paint. So you can put in a lot of water and it goes a long way. All right, so you still want that paint to be transparent. You don't want it to be super dark yet. I mean, at the end we'll put in some real dark contrasts, but right this instant we will just get in some of this darker color. Okay, so where should we start? Let's start here. Okay, it's probably a bit. That is actually the right value for that area of the building actually, so I'll get that in. So it's pretty dark here. It's almost really one of the darkest sections of the painting besides the windows themselves. Okay, if I can see this smaller brush that I'm using here, this little, what you may call it, this little flat brush, is a lifesaver. Okay, maybe I'll just leave some streaks of light running through it like that. Okay, look at that. We're just going it in. And, here are the umbrellas that we were talking about before. Let's cut around them. Okay. And like I said before, you don't have to get in all of the little, we can leave bits of the color showing through, previous color showing through. Okay. As we move on to this building here into the foreground, it's actually lighter, a little bit lighter in value. So I'm going to mix in a bit of yellow with the gray on the bottom of my palette here and just darken this off again in one big wash. And you want these shadows to kind of connect with each other, but I have noticed now that there is actually a little slither of color of light running in the center here. Can you see it? It's a little slither of light. I'll just let it connect up a bit like this. There, join it in some areas like that. But that's what I mean by connecting the shadow. I am just adding it all in and allowing it to blend in parts. Okay, might look really messy at the moment. It is a bit of messy work, but trust me, it will work out in the end. Bit of brown here as well, just a bit of different color to just offset some of that gray coming down. Okay, bit darker as I get to the base of the buildings. I tend to darken things off a little bit. And there's look at these little rectangular bits and stuff in here. You can just leave that out as well if you want to just indicate some highlights. Okay, a figure here. Okay, there's something here. Okay, let's have a look on the building. We've actually got a bit of light, darkness here, so just on the side of that building, from the shadow above and to the left, they're coming from the building there. And I'm just going to put in some of the shadows of this building running underneath like this. Okay. Cutting around those umbrellas as well. Look at that, just leaving a bit of that color in there. The light showing through. Okay, we're gonna get in a bit of darkness here on the right hand side of some of these buildings like this. Okay, a bit of something running across there. You know, here a bit of darkness on that side of the building as well. And of course, this shadow in the background. Look at that, it's really dark. I'm just going to combine that up a touch like this. This darker sort of shadow. I've not really had to use the flat brush all that much actually. Like that. Okay. Here, just, you know, just get in a bit of shadow for this on the side of that building as well. Here, just, I don't know, I'm just indicating a bit of it. That. Like that. There we are. Kind of casting this shadow of that building. I will also put in a bit of darkness on the right hand side of it, like this. Yeah, because actually a bit of shadow on the right hand side of that building, like that. Okay. What else do we have? You know, connecting up these shadows again. Look, there's a little bit there, and if I use I'll use this flat brush for this part. I use the flat brush when I want to detail a bit more, or a smaller synthetic round brush. Okay, like that. Gone a bit overboard there. Let me just dab that off. Okay, good. There, a bit of darkness there. The rooftop is actually a bit darker as well. I'm going to put in some brownish color for the rooftop. Okay, like that. Let's just blend it in. There's even bits of this here, that roof color, whatever. Okay, a bit of browny sort of color, like that. Yeah. We'll detail a bit more later, but yeah, these are sort of your mid-tones. Pretty much everything in between your lightest and darkest values. Okay, this building here. Rooftop. Bit of darkness on that rooftop. Bring that across. And the roof again has some of these brown sort of colors in them, like that. Just darken a little bit of that roof in areas. I mean, it's still fairly light actually. This thing on top here, whatever you call it, I'm just going to get in a bit of color to the right hand side of it like that. Yeah. Good. Let's start, you know, there's some separations in between, like here, for example. You know, there's a separation here. Just a quick little something like that. Here, here, you know, here, and just putting in the shadows of the buildings. Okay. Like that. There. Still pretty light. Okay. You even see some of the windows, like doors and things like that. I really think I want to leave most of these in for later. Anyway, I want to just focus on making sure that we get in this shadow. Okay, look at this shadow running across the building here as well, like that. There we are, darker kind of shadow, like that. It makes me think the other ones are too light now, because, well, they are actually slightly too light. So I'll just, there's also a shadow here, dark sort of shadow. There's one here underneath the roof of the building, like that. Simplify this, Darren, just one brush stroke or something like that. Let me just get in a bit of that color to the right of the building, you know, a bit of darkness here as well. What else do we have? You know, these shadows, as I mentioned before, they just run across kind of the right side of the buildings. Let me have a look. What else do we have? Okay. Now I'm going to move down the page. And we're going to just cut around some of these figures and things. I'm going to mix blue, a bit more blue, ultramarine into my gray to get a bit more coolness and a bit more darkness through this section. Okay, around about here. Notice, look, I'm just going pretty dark. Okay, so I can get some darker contrast in here. I don't want it to, it starts looking too wishy-washy. If I don't add in a bit more color at the base, I don't know, I just like to do this, really exaggerate that out. And this is where you're also doing a bit of guesswork and a bit of improvisation. You know, here, for example, look, some light coming in behind the umbrellas. Okay, little bits of light like that. All these people here in the darkness as well. And it's just indicating that they're there. Okay, I'm going to cut around them because I find this is going to be easier for me anyway if I cut around the figures. Remember, all this area on the ground here is dark, pretty dark. You know, there's a bicycle here. Look at that. I don't know, something like this. There's a bicycle here, even. Okay, but I'm just leaving out very, very subtly some of the colors. Losing my voice. Okay. I'm assuming you guys are all pretty busy following along. Drop a message in the chats if you have any questions. Let me know how I'm going, if you're enjoying this, if it's making sense for you. Feedback during these sessions is always really important for me because, you know, as you know, when you run these sort of sessions live, it's very difficult to gauge how people are doing, and sometimes it, you know, might be a bit worried to reach out if you need some help and stuff like that. So don't hesitate if you need some help or if you have some questions, reach out and I will answer those questions for you. Okay. You know, see how I'm just leaving out some of the lights, the little details there. Okay. The bike, you know, just cut around that bike a bit. It may or may not stay later, but why not just leave it in for the sake of it. Okay, yeah. Good. Susan Ledbetter from North Carolina says, thank you so much for this, Darren. I decided to watch this through live and take it all in, then paint along later to the recording. Love your tutorials. Thanks, Susan. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, I mean, these sometimes run pretty quick, so you can always rewatch afterwards. Appreciate you being here, and that you're enjoying this, enjoying it. Okay, so yeah, it's a pretty dark shadow. I'm fiddling around with that brush a little bit too much. I'm going to pick up a larger mop brush and just start feathering in the rest of this shadow quickly. Okay, in the front of the scene as well, I'm just darkening it down a bit more. Now this is an important part because we want to make sure that the shadow doesn't go out too far. Okay, go out too far. So here, I'm just going to make that come out like this, where we had planned it with the pencil before. Okay, like that. There, here, coming down, and then like this. Let me look like that. Okay, running out like that. Large sort of shadow shape. Okay, good. So there's something there. It's coming together slowly but surely. But we can now see that there is a large sort of shadow shape just running across the scene. Okay. Large sort of shadow shape, and we'll put in a bit of detail and stuff like that in just a moment. So let's have a look around. Some more shadows maybe we should put in underneath some areas of the building. I'm just looking and finding some spots that I can further darken up. So we're at the stage of the painting where we are playing around with our darkest values. Okay, bit of darkness here at the base. Look here, this window, pretty dark. Why not? Let's just put in. I'll start off with just this one window like that. Doorway like this, there. And you use this brush while it's pretty dry. When you're doing the doors and windows and stuff like that, it's pretty dark paint, but I'm just touching. Here it is, touch and go with a lot of this stuff. And you're really just implying what is there rather than making it too obvious that it's a window. You draw in a window, it's not going to look like a window. I don't know why, but it just happens to work out that way. There's another one. That's actually a bit too dark, but it doesn't matter. There, look at that, just another one. And when I have these, this little flat brush like this, it makes it so much easier to paint in windows, because the flat brush is already shaped as this rectangular sort of shape. So all I need to do is just go this, and here. Look at that. We've got some windows. I probably could have done that better, but look, it's quick, isn't it? And it looks fresh. Okay. Here up on the top, there are some details for the roof or whatever. A bit of darkness up on the roof. I can just feather some of that darker color in like that. There. Let's have a look. What else do we have on the buildings? Even the buildings here. Look at that. That's really dark. This area of the buildings, and underneath here as well. The little windows will kind of blend in a bit with the shadow. In fact, I should have a smaller flat brush here. I don't have a smaller flat brush. I'm just going to have to make do with this one. Notice I'm holding the brush further down as well. That helps me to detail better. Okay. Window. Oops. Window. Here. Another window. Like that. You can even put in these shutters, a bit of the shutters or something like that as well. Just an indication of those shutters. Okay. Up to you. Something like that. Okay. I'm going to start just putting in some of the figures as well. The legs of the figures. So darkness, a bit more darkness at the legs of the figures, as you can see. Just start with these ones here closer. And join them up on the ground like this. Okay, a bit of darkness maybe on the right hand side of the body, like that. Okay, oops. There. There. Couple here in the background, even. Another few here. Dark colors. I'm just using some dark colors anyway for the legs to help them to stick out better, like that. Okay, a couple of legs, and just quick, do them quick. Here's one walking into the scene. Okay, one figure here. Notice I skip sections as well, just to try to imply maybe some light. Oops, that leg's just a bit too large. The other one back, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and of course we can't forget the shadow, which is a little bit lighter than the actual legs of the figures. So look at that, just a bit of shadow on the ground, running to the right hand side to the same sort of pattern as we can see here. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect, just something to indicate that they're the shadows of the figures where they're running to the right. Okay, connect them with the legs. This one needs some here. Connect them up. Yeah, that. Yeah. Yeah, some here as well. Look, just a couple of figures there that I've missed out, and again, just gonna connect those ones up a touch. I've also got figures here in the darkness, people and things. Okay, let's put in a bit of darkness for and little windows and things like that for these other ones here. Let's again draw in, paint in some of these little windows. Okay, I had planned some of this out with the pencil, which helps, see? Right. Like I said, they're not even really looking like what they look like in the reference, but the amount of detail is up to you. For me, I'm happy with just a bit more simplicity through here. Just a line running through, I'm happy with that. Okay, just some more layering and indicating details underneath the buildings here, and just you often get a bit of darkness more at the base of the buildings as well, where it's darker. Okay, so yeah, I just thought I'd go over that a little bit. Now, in the windows here of this dark building, you know, look, we can just put in a few little lines. A few nice little lines here. Look at that, just running down the page, and you can barely see them. It's really quite dark in there. But something like that, and maybe a bit of detail on the roof, some perspective lines running through the scene like that. Oh, forgotten this one. There's actually some darker darker windows running on the left-hand side here as well. So let's just get in some of these windows on the left-hand side of the building like that. Okay, they're just little lines. Okay. I'm not trying to do this perfectly, especially because we're doing it live as well. The process, I think, is more important, and up to you whether you want to actually detail more. You know, even some of them, you got these little balustrades, you know, what do you call them? Balustrades, what do you call them? I've lost my wording, but the railing here, can you see that? There's a railing. Oh, there's a pole here. I don't like that though. But I will sort of maybe put a bit of stuff on the roof of the buildings and bring out the structure a little bit more of it. You know, more, you know, little details on the buildings as well in the back. This brush is just getting a bit too clunky. Let me use a smaller one. This is better. Just a bit more subtle. Okay, here we go. Look, some more windows and things for these buildings out in the back here. Okay. Buildings out in the back. Underneath the rooftops, there's some shadow, as you can see. So let's put some of that shadow in there, connect that up a little, like that. Okay. What else do we have? Ooh, the shadows and stuff on this building to the left. We can just put in a few verticals as well, like I mentioned before. Just a few little verticals like that for windows. And yeah, look, it's up to you. You can really just put in a lot of stuff in here if you'd like. I'm simplifying it down, these little archways or whatever here, just let's put in a few more things like that. There's actually some darkness on the top of the roof here as well, you know, there, bit here. Okay, little separations aren't so present in the reference, but I will just add them in to create extra detail. Okay, often we're eliminating details in watercolor painting, so adding in a bit does help at times, you know. As a whole, what I aim to do is have a paint that, you know, when you look back at it from a distance, it looks like something, you know. Often when you're painting, you're really comparing it to the reference photo and you're thinking, this does not look anything like what I'm painting. I've failed, I'm going to give up. But you have to wait until the end, look at the painting away from the reference picture. Even I usually just wait a day or so and just come back, have a look at it, and I think, okay, actually doesn't look bad. So you need to think of your art as something that stands separate from that reference photo, rather than be 100% representative of the reference, if that makes sense. Okay. Look, it's a bit messy here on the left-hand side. I do admit it's gone a bit overboard, but look, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Notice how I sort of use my fingers as well as I paint. Well, not finger painting, but I don't know, it creates a bit of texture, a bit of interest in there. Okay, what else do we have left to do? We're almost done with pretty much all the details, aren't we? I'm kind of struggling to find anything else to put in here, but I will show you all how to use gouache to get in some nice, beautiful contrasts. I mean, like I said, there's some details here, little details here on the building. So it's up to you. You don't have to put them all in. I'm also mindful that you can ruin a painting by focusing too much on the little details. I don't know how many of you guys has anyone else had that happen to them, where you had something that you really liked and then you thought, well, let me just try to add in some more of this, some more details here and there, and then you've ruined it, So you kind of got to know when to stop and think, okay, that's looking good, and I need to step back. Let me know if you've had that same thing. It's the worst feeling, because you end up with a painting that you looked better before, and then you end up putting more work into it, and you stuff it up. So as soon as it starts looking good, just listen to that voice in your head and say, hey, look, let's stop now, leave it. Okay, this little tower in the background, I just am trying to see a bit of shadow on the right hand side, like that. A little bit of shadow, something to indicate it being there, and these little windows or something on it. Why not just indicate something like that? Yeah. Yeah, so it's a lot of touch and go stuff going on in here. Let's get in some colors. Anne says, looks great. Thank you, Anne. I think it's looking all right. Definitely starting to come together slowly. Are you painting along as well, or just watching? Righto. So colors for the figures. Ooh, let's put in some blues and stuff. I thought I'll just put in a bit of blue color for this one, something like that. There. It's just a bit of cerulean. It's up to you. You don't have to really bother too much with the colors for the figures. I'm just want to get in something for some of them. Look at this one. Blend it a bit like that. You can just leave some of them white as well. A bit of white like that. This one here, bit of grey here in the darkness. Okay. Yeah. I think the big thing at times is just connecting the legs up with the body a touch, because there's a bit of sharpness where the legs connect on with the body, and sometimes that can be kind of, just a bit jarring. So I will go over, see just what I'm doing here, just go over it again and blend the legs a bit more with the body, if that makes sense, so that it just looks a little smoother than what it appeared before, how it appeared before. Thanks, Donna Forte. It's an Italian name. Forte means loud or something, loud or strong, I think. I haven't played piano for a long time. We'll get in a bit of red. I'm going to put in a tiny bit of red, pinkish color, and mix that in with some white. I'm just going to put in a touch of that for the heads. Now you can use whatever you want for these skin tones. I also mix in a bit of brown. bit of brown, a bit of, you know, blue as well. That helps. Okay, but yeah, just a bit of color for the heads of some of these figures. I find it helps to, I don't know, just make them look more like figures at times. Okay, tiny bit of that in there. Okay, what else do we have left in this scene? We're getting close to finishing it. Yeah, getting very close. I forgot to put in this rooftop, this darker section of the roof here. Things like that. Just, oh, didn't want that, but that's no good. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Fixed. Alrighty. Okay, this area here, these figures in the dark, I want to get in some shadows, and also this one here. See this shadow of this figure? Let's get in that little bit of that figure like that. I want to actually put in some gouache at the end to further emphasize some of these figures. And you can see all these ones just sort of like sitting down on this, you know, imaginary bench or whatever that I've made here. And you can also put in a bit of detail for that bench or whatever it is. And, you know, it's very hard to really make out that there's even people sitting there, but we will bring them out a touch later. Okay, sit down. There's even a guy here, look, and this bicycle, let me just put in, I reckon if we put in these spokes of the wheels like this will look more like a bicycle, yeah? Kind of, anyway. A little bit of that. All right, a little bit of that bicycle there. I mean, I don't even know what, hang on, let me look. That could be the top part of it. Okay, bit of a shadow running across the bottom, like that. There's a figure here. I like this figure, actually. Interesting fella just sort of behind there. There's also a figure here, look, coming in from the left-hand side of the scene, and I think quite crucial to, yeah, create a bit of depth. As I mentioned in the scene, just having person there as well. Okay. We're getting close, aren't we? Getting very close to the finish, to the finishing line. Yeah, what are you guys thinking so far? And how are you doing? Do you have any questions? You know, at this point, what I'm doing is I'm just finding sort of areas that I can re-emphasize. Yeah. The shutters and stuff here. I know I said I'm not gonna detail too much, but little bits and pieces at the end that you can just drop in and signal. Oh. We've preserved the light. That's the thing that I'm happy with, that we've got enough light running through all this to keep things interesting. Okay. I like to mix up a bit of white gouache and a bit of grey sometimes, and play around with some of these darker areas in here. In fact, I do think that there should be some extra darkness in some parts as well, like in here, perhaps. You know, sometimes, you know, I look at the painting as a whole and I think, well, you know, we could do with a bit of this here, a bit of that there to bring it all together. And these are just kind of finishing touches, you know. Let's have a look like that. Let's put some color in for the hair of the figures. I'm just going to use a darker color. It's easier, just a bit of darker color. This could be some longer hair. This could be some, yeah, like that. I mean, maybe they don't have hair even, doesn't matter. You know, just some of them put a bit of something on some of the figures. Yeah, this one would be good as well. Just a bit of darkness here. There, could be, kind of looks like a person with long hair now. And here we go to another person there. Oh. A bit too much. Okay. Good. And you know, after this, I think I'll actually redo parts of it as well, like just continue detailing here and there. It's up to you. Um, Final touches. Now some gouache, bit of gouache. How you doing, Marion? Good to see ya. And I'm gonna just open up this tube of gouache. And let's just righto. So bit of gouache, bit of white gouache, and I'll mix this with a touch of yellow, a little bit of yellow, to get in some yellowy highlights on the figures. But also, even just using the gouache, the white gouache on its own is good enough. I'll give it a quick dry first. Okay, bit of that white gouache here, and I'm trying to just put it on the left side of these figures, left side of them. You know, and these ones here that are just sitting down, just touch on to indicate where they are, potentially sitting down. There's one here, that figure just sitting down, well, standing up there, you know, here as well, like that. Bit of that light, bringing a bit of that light back. You know, even with the umbrellas and stuff, you will find that, you know, some of them have disappeared, so you can actually bring them back, parts of them back anyway. The stem of the umbrellas, little stems here, they can help as well. Just bring back a little bit of light and interest in that section. A little bit of the there as well. There, just on the shoulders. You know, some more here. Here. Okay. Good. Bit more here. Okay. These are just your finishing touches. Okay, even on the buildings, you can put in a tiny bit of gouache on the left side of the buildings, or just in areas where you think the light can catch onto it. Again, it's not something that you want to overdo, but I find it, I don't know, it creates a little bit of extra interest in some parts, brings back a little bit of light. You know, you don't do it in all spots, just in some areas here and there. Okay, I think it makes it look more interesting anyway in some parts. You know, we're almost there. Yeah, whether we put in any birds up the top, I'm gonna put in a few little ones to finish it off. Just a little bit of grey that I'll pick up. Okay, and let's drop in a few birds. They're just these tiny little V shapes that you can draw in the sky. Okay, and they just look like they're birds flying around. You don't have to do this. Some people really don't like it when I do this. Yeah, it's not for everyone, but I like to add them in sometimes to indicate just a bit of what's going on in the background and help to connect up the buildings and really the background with the midground. Okay, some bigger ones up here perhaps. Good. Okay. Righto. Okay. I think I'm gonna call this one. We're gonna call this one done. Let's take off the paper and have a look. And if you're still watching along, make sure you hang around because I also want to talk a bit about my course. I've got a ongoing course that I've been running for quite some time, and we'll talk a bit about that. And I'm also going to answer your questions for anyone watching at home. If you need some help or just general questions you had from today, I will answer them while I am live. And this tape just helps so much, creates a bit of a border. Okay, but we have done this painting. It's 1 hour 35 minutes, so roughly took us about 1.5 hours, give or take. But we've managed to get through it. Let me know how have you gone? How have you found this session? Let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear from you all. In the meanwhile, what I will do is I'm actually going to run through a little presentation. If you have about 5 to 10 minutes, just talking about a few courses that I have on. I've obviously got Patreon, which you can sign up if you want to have a look at some of my other courses and things. But this is one like an ongoing course I've had a while. So if you can hang around for a little while, I'd really appreciate it. And also, I'll also be able to answer your questions here too. So I really want to, just get some of your feedback on today's session. I did run this one a little bit faster as well. I think I normally see a few more chats coming through, but I think some of you were probably rushing along with me. So this is just a little presentation that I have, guys, and I'll run through it with you. So I've got a few different programs out. This is the one that I've had out for about 1.5 years now. It's a 70 course program that I call Watercolor Essentials. I basically have all of the courses that I've made in the last 2 years, and I've packaged them all up. And these are some of the presentations, the demonstrations that are included. Similar style as the way I've run them today. Okay, and as you know, for a lot of you who are learning paintings, it's very difficult to find some tutorials that actually aren't sped up, that actually go through how, the details of how to paint something, the process. And that's something that I really focus a lot on when I teach. I try to go through, the consistency of paint that I'm using. Why am I using that particular paint? Why am I using that particular color? And go slow enough for you to be able to understand what's going on. And one of the biggest things is people ask, in terms of layering, creating depth and perspective, those are the things I think come up quite often, and I cover them pretty much all in this course. Okay, and at the end of the day, we all want to create a painting that we're proud of. We want to show our family and friends, and just feel confident knowing what you're doing when you're painting. And that's why I follow pretty much this same process that I've gone through with you guys today in every single one of my paintings. I just adapt it a little bit, okay? And it yields very similar results each time. This is some of my paintings. This was one of the first paintings I did back in 2014. Could barely knew what I was doing. And it took me, quite a long time to figure out how to get to the stage that I'm at today. But it would have taken a lot faster if I just, had someone to show me what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, what to focus on, and really just the process, because painting is just a process. It's not a magical thing that people are born with. It's something that you can learn just like any other skill. So this is what's included. So there's 70 courses, and you get unlimited instant access to everything, hundreds of hours of paint-along demonstrations, and you also get all the ads-free live recorded workshops that I run monthly. and you can start and stop them at your own pace. They're all narrated in real time as well, same as today, except I do go into more detail with quite a few of the courses. And here are just some little demonstrations that are included. I do some natural landscapes as well. This is Australian landscape and a few other ones. Some of the courses are more simple than others. I also have some portraiture sessions in there. And if you like my style of painting, which is a very loose style of painting and impressionistic styles, you'll definitely like this course. There's so many projects in there, hundreds of projects, and you can see here as well, I do a bit of line and wash work where we're using pen and watercolor. So let me go to that one before here. So that's another example, some more line and wash. Okay, so you can get in more details and more more rigid details in your drawings and paintings. Okay, some other ones here, just all themed differently, and a lot of the courses are based on the feedback that I've had from people who just wanted to see me paint particular things. Go into more detail about how to use colors, how to create depth in your paintings. I talk a lot about that and my process as well. So that's another demonstration that I ran. Some other ones, of course, here's some Australian landscapes, some quick loose ones, more line and wash. You'd be surprised how quick these take to whip up. Once you get yourself started and understand the process of how to draw and paint, it becomes like second nature. And it's hard to believe. You think to yourself, I couldn't paint like that, but as you can see, my earlier paintings, I had no idea what I was doing, and it's definitely possible if I can do it. So here are some more. I put quite a lot in here actually. Let me just keep clicking through. It's just so that you can see some more examples of my work. Lots of these line and wash ones. People really like my line and wash drawings, and it was something I still am interested in it. I think they require a bit more patience. Okay, and I also teach on a few different platforms. So over here, I teach on Facebook, obviously, but a few other course platforms, and I get consistently good reviews on them. So all the courses that I include in this big 70 course program are part of the ones that I sell on different platforms. Okay, but this is just my own platform, allows me to manage it directly and communicate to students directly. It's just much better. So there's a few bonuses if you decide to sign up today. So you will receive tailored feedback from me from the day that you register. So 2 months from registration. And this is going to save you time, kind of like what I was mentioning before. It took me all these years to figure out a process, but if you are able to kind of see into my head and understand how I think as a watercolorist, you're going to improve faster, because often if you just practice without knowing, the right way to practice or the areas to focus on, you're really just spinning your tires, and the effort that you put in can really just at times demotivate you and think I'm not getting anywhere. But if you get a bit of feedback and sort of understand what to focus on, and you'll definitely see improvements a lot faster. I've also got a private watercolor academy group that you can also join, and this is an ongoing thing that you can access and get priority support. You can message me directly as well. Okay, we run a few different groups on Facebook. There's one that's nearly 200,000 members, and then another one that's like 3,000 something members, and the private one as well. So quite a few on there, big community. And community is important. It allows you to learn better, share your paintings with other people, get feedback, help motivate each other to continue painting. So, it's like I said before, it's something that I started a year and a half ago, started with about 30 courses in there. Now there's 70. Okay. And like I said, you get access to all the previous workshops and the different paintings and different subjects that you see in all the workshops today, plus additional courses. There's additional 70 courses. So normally I sell it for $497, but if you sign up today this is the price, and like I said, you get unlimited access to all the content in there. And yeah, so if you're interested, type enroll in the chats. There's also the link for it just in the description of the video and pinned in the comments. You can go in there and click it and have a look if you're interested. If you have questions as well, just let me know and I'll answer your questions. If you want to try it out, there's also my Patreon, and the Patreon really helps to support me to do what I'm doing in terms of running these sessions. It's been a great help. Some of my patrons, like Valerie, there's a few others like Philippe, there's Margaret, quite a few, a few of my patrons have really helped me to set up the camera and all this stuff properly and get my equipment set up so that I can run these shows. So you also, if you do sign up for the Patreon, you get access to all my courses. So there's different tiers. You sign up for the $10 one, $20 one, $30 one as well. So have a look at that. It's also available, and some more student testimonials and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you for listening. And I'm going to go back into the chats now and just have a look. Let's have a look and see what some of your comments are. I'm really keen to hear what you guys have to say. There's actually quite a few comments in here. I need to catch up on them. Thank you all for coming along today. I know for some of you, it's probably quite late at night, isn't it? So we have Pamela says, it looks good. Thank you, Pamela. Susan likes it as well. Good that a few of you like it. And thank you, Sonal. And Solan says, you do a great job. The drawing is important. Watching the perspective and shapes. Thank you. Yeah, and look, we pulled this one off in about an hour. And imagine if you just sat there even for a couple of hours and took your time with it. You can get it more detailed. But again, I try to put a bit of a time limit on them so that I'm not fiddling around with too many details. I just like this type of style. It's part of my personality as well. I'm actually quite an impatient person by nature. I want when I paint something, I just want to get the result quite quickly. And in a funny way, it's allowed me to develop this style and just come up with a more simplified process of painting all the light areas, the dark areas, implying all the figures and shapes in the most efficient way. And it's turned out, I think, to look quite like a unique sort of style. It still resembles the reference photo. You can still tell that it's the context of the location, okay? But of course, you don't have to paint as fast as me. You can paint a bit slower and focus on refining those details as well. Solan says, I was trying to follow, but can see my drawing isn't right. Yeah, and when you're starting out painting and drawing, one of the things you want to do is take your time with the drawing. I draw pretty fast because I've done this like thousands of times, where as if you're starting out, definitely, the biggest thing is just focusing on that horizon line, making sure you're getting that bottom of the buildings in correctly, making sure the buildings are not too tall, not too short, wide enough. The figures as well, the ones in the front are larger, the ones in the back are smaller. You kind of have a real big figure in the background because they're going to just look like giants. Little things like that you pick up and integrate into how you paint. But in the beginning, those things do not come as a second nature. It takes time to understand those concepts. So I'm going to go through, just let me have a look. I'm just going to go through Facebook. Those of you who are still watching, I'd love to hear what you thought of today's session and how I can do better next time as well. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm hanging around for a little bit. I've actually finished earlier today. Surprisingly, tend to be painting past the 2 hour point, but well past the 2 hour point. Linda Dayton, mine looks nothing like yours, but oh well. Look, I think you've done really well to make it through to the end. It's not always going to work out the way you want it, especially when you're still learning, but you've done a really great job, all of you, for sticking around to the end and having a finished product. It's something that you learn from. I've learned way more from all of my mistakes and all of the paintings. I don't show anyone on any of the paintings that I've stuffed up, but I've stuffed up hundreds and hundreds of paintings, and I've learned so much from them to not do this or to do this better next time. So, be proud of yourself for making it through to the end. Linda, you've done well. Donna says it was great. Thank you. Thanks, Donna. And Linda's also saying, enjoyed the session. Thanks so much. Thank you. JT, Tom, thumbs up. Kate says, hi, Darren. Thanks for a good session. 3D effect, quite a challenge. Yeah, it is definitely, it's definitely tricky. And always think of it as, at the end of the day, these are just boxes, aren't they? That, there could be serial boxes. They could be just cubes, and that's a triangle. Simplify and draw the shapes. Don't worry about the buildings. Think of the shapes and where the shapes fit on the page and how the shapes appear in relation to one another. Is this shape bigger than that one? Is it wider? That kind of thing. And it takes time to recognize and see those as shapes in your mind, because normally when we look out at objects in the world, we don't see shapes. We see a building. We interpret that in a subjective way. But at the end of the day, you can learn to recognize these shapes with time. Christy says, enjoyed this so much. Haven't painted for a long time. This is very challenging. Couldn't paint comment at the same time. Love the lesson on shading. Like another commentator, I was very interested in painting buildings. Very good instruction. Thank you so much. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate it. And yeah, if you want to see some more of my courses and if you're interested in a bit more, there's lots of previous sessions that are available on YouTube, or you can also check out my Patreon if you'd like to as well. But thank you for coming along. Be More Watercolors says, very interesting application on the figures in your shadow. Thank you. And Anne says, Taiwan doesn't have that many birds. Yeah, I've never been to Taiwan. And so, does it? I wonder if it snows on in the winters. I'm not sure. Linda says, I'm thinking I need to pre-draw or trace. Yeah, so that can save yourself a bit of time and give you a bit more, I guess, a bit more confidence in knowing, like, the drawing beforehand. Even if you do a quick little sketch, it helps you to plan out these little shadows. I did that in 5 minutes before I ran this session. Just that little 5 minutes. Make sure that I don't make any mistakes, big mistakes. So as long as I plan out, the composition, where the shadows are, where light is, generally where the figures are, it goes okay. Anne says again, it's amazing how much free time you give us. Thank you, Anne. And this is fun for me. I love doing this and being able to chat to you guys and help you out as well. This is great fun, and I really appreciate it. It's only possible because of all of you watching. So really, really appreciate it. Kate says, Darren, have sent a photo of my attempt. Okay, yeah, I'll check my message. Did you message it? Did you direct message it to me on Facebook, Kate? If so, I'll check it out later. Post it in the group as well. We've got a Facebook group on, if you go facebook.com/group/watercolor mentor, post your painting in there, and the community there is really friendly. We'll get back to you, and people will give you some support, answer your questions, and I'll jump in every now and then as well. But you got to make some friends in there, people who share the same interest of painting as you. And sometimes it's very difficult to find people who have the same interests as you, in day-to-day life. I find it anyway. I've got a lot of odd interests. One of my other interests is that I like playing around with electronics. There's not many people that I know around that are as obsessed with that kind of stuff as me. So sometimes these online communities are, just a gold mine of finding people from around the world that you never necessarily connect with, and you never have the opportunity to connect with otherwise. So thank you. Anne says, no snow except for some few years in the mountains. Okay. Yeah, I hear the food there is really good as well. I've got to get over there at some stage. Let's have a look at the at the other comments. Been streaming on a few places, so just want to make sure I've covered everyone here. And Serena saying she's going to watch later, going to my daughter's birthday celebration. Enjoy, everybody. Fantastic. Serena, watch later. Let's have a look here. Margaret says, Darren, I loved this one. Also, I've just watched your spiel. Thank you. Well, I've done so many of your paintings. I am so glad that I joined up. Thanks once again. Appreciate it, Margaret. And Margaret's one of my previous students as well. I ran another live 4-week program some time ago. I haven't run one of those a while since, but it's, yeah, I've got basically 3 programs, but the main one I talk about is this 70 course one. Jocelyn, good to see you, Jocelyn. Looks like you just joined. Who else do we have left on here? Let me just check on YouTube. And yeah, there's a bit of chat going on on YouTube here. Kim says, thanks, Darren. Thanks, Darren. That was a great practice with depth. Appreciate it, Kim. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And you know, Solan, it's in terms of the drawing, you can always, yeah, just practice sketching from a photograph, practice sketching from life. That's going to drastically improve your paintings, because if you've got a decent drawing in there, as you know, the painting then becomes second nature, because all you got to do is just put the colors on and a little of the details. Okay, so I always just, again, paint all the light colors first, paint all the dark colors later, and the little details. Can't go wrong. Just can't go wrong. Pamela says it is worth doing the course. My watercolors have improved so much. Awesome. Yeah, Pamela is one of my students, and she's also signed up for this this program. So I'm really happy your watercolors are improved, and I see you posting. Your watercolors every week as well, and that's part of the reason why you've improved. You know, a huge part of the reason, really, because of how much practice you put into it. You know, but you know, having some good instruction and having a process helps, rather than trying something and, yeah, just flying blind. That's something I do a lot of the time, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's definitely more efficient if you follow a certain process. So Solan says, best probably to try draw before the class from the photo. Yeah, that will help you as well. Give you a bit more time. And Kim says, Solan, that's a great idea. Good. Definitely. Let's have a look. Who else do we have here? We've got Penny Stowe. Thank you, Penny. I'm glad you enjoyed today's session. And what I'll do, actually, I might just bring up the program very quickly, just to give you a sneak peek of what it looks like when you sign up, so you can see, what's included in there. But I'm going to give you guys a bit of extra time, another few minutes. Just drop in your questions for those of you who are still hanging around in here, and maybe some of you who are watching afterwards as well. Yeah, leave a comment, leave a question, and I'll get back to you. Okay, but let me just open it up, and you can see what's included. And here we go. So I swapped it over there. So this is what you get when you sign up for the 70 course program. This is the first page. As you can see, just some instructions here, and you know, they're all sorted in terms of watercolor courses here on the left. So example, I've got like a Christmas card one here. I've got painting night landscapes, all the lectures, all the different lectures down the side that you click on and view. You know, and then I've got, after all the watercolor bits, which is most of the videos, you've got line and wash. So using a pen, black pen, and watercolors to paint. Say you want to open this one up, and you know, you want to open up this video, you can click there. It's a little bit slow because I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, but it will open up the video here on the right, and yeah, basically view each video. So if you go down as well, you can see there's line and wash, What else is there?
Okay, we're going to make a start on this one here, and in the reference photo it's very hard to see where the shadows are coming from, but what I want to do is actually get some shadows coming in from right to left, so we have these poles and things like that, just casting a shadow across the page. I think that would look
like a line and wash class that I did. Lots of, as you can see, so much content in here. Something there for everyone. Okay, I've got some, and all these bonus live workshops are just the recordings of the ones that I do live, but they're ads free, and you can go through and view them. There's, geez, I think there'd be close to 80 different demonstrations.
Okay, so continuing on, the last step really is just to put in some of the final shadows on the buildings, some of the shadows in the boats, some of the reflections in the water perhaps, and some finishing touches with the gouache. And I tend to use especially with this size
I don't think there's any more
paper, which is A4, I tend to use a smaller brush for this. And I'm going to go use this brush here, which is basically a number 6.
Today, I'm going to host another one soon, next month. And I'm trying to figure out what people want me to paint. So if you've got any ideas, leave a message in the comments or the chats. You can also message me directly. I also run some polls. That helps, makes it a lot easier. But thank you for coming along again. And I will see you. I'll see you next time.